Well, thank you everyone for joining us today here on a Thursday, and we're very delighted to welcome Jaslyn and Nadeem from Standard Chartered, who will be speaking with you today about the company, the organisation, the roles, and you'll also have the opportunity to be able to ask your questions. You'll see on the screen there's a little panel called questions. You can type your questions in there, and then we can always ask Jaslyn and Nadeem to look at those too. So we're just looking at setting up a video. It might be that I have to share the link with you separately after this presentation, but I can do that and always email you out the link to everybody who's joined today. So yeah, thank you again for joining. Nadeem, just whilst Jaslyn's setting up, would you like to introduce yourself and then?
Yeah, gladly. Hey, everyone. Very nice to meet you. My name is Nadeem Latke. I am here based in London, working for Standard Chartered in what we call the DCDA division, which I'm sure I'll get an opportunity to talk a lot about. It's our digital capabilities and data analytics team. As you guys all, I'm sure, know very well, digital is becoming such a key part of just about everyone's strategy, and quite excitingly, Standard Chartered has really embarked on quite an ambitious and aggressive mission to become the leading digital banking platform. And so my role in specific is really helping bring partnerships across third parties, fintechs to the forum to really bring the best experience for our clients. Which brings me to the second hat that I wear, is also the digital solutions team, right? Thinking about the solutions that we offer our clients and build with our clients across the various elements that we work in the bank: foreign exchange, cash management, trade finance. But I'll stop there, and I'm sure I'll leave it more for questions later.
Thank you. And Jaslyn, would you like to introduce yourself as well? And I'll.
Yeah, I can do that. So sorry, I was just spending time trying to upload a video. I think it would be worthwhile for everyone to watch that video actually. Yeah, so I'm part of the early careers team, joined Standard Chartered for about 3 years now. Have always been in the early career space. So as part of my role, I look after regionally in terms of ASEAN and South Asia, in terms of the early careers hiring within this space itself. So, anything from grad hiring to interns hiring to any straight to desk junior hiring across the bank, across the stream. And Nadeem is one of our stakeholders as well. So basically, that's really kind of my role, bringing people into the bank and really getting their career started. So that's kind of my role. And I guess, we do have like a deck. So in terms of agenda wise today, thank you so much to Esther and the team for inviting us, and to all of you who are on the call. Thank you so much for attending this session. I hope, let's make it, Nadeem and I feel like we're going to make it more like a casual session for you to kind of interact with us and ask questions. When we open up for questions, we hope that you will be able to kind of ask us any questions that you like, just to help you find out a bit more about Standard Chartered and whether this is actually for you, right? And just in terms of agenda for today, what's going to happen is that I'm going to quickly present like a deck in terms of what are some of our offerings within the bank itself, and then Nadeem is going to kind of share a bit more around his role, what he's doing in the bank, as well as what are some of the strategy in his space that they are looking at, right? So without further ado, Esther, can I start sharing my screen now? Yeah, okay. 1 second.
Absolutely, yeah, and I'll just turn my camera off, but I'll be here in the background. But yeah, thank you.
Okay. Can you guys see that?
Perfectly. Yeah, perfect,
okay.
Perfect.
Okay. So basically, kind of our messaging to you really, it's go beyond banking. Why do we say that? I think in the next few slides, you probably will get a sense of that. So our bank at a glance, we employ 85,000 people around the world, probably much more now. This was stats from last year. We have 1,026 branches worldwide. Colleagues come from different countries in terms of diversity. You probably sit beside a colleague that's not from the same country, or maybe in terms of diversity, in terms of backgrounds, etc. We're listed on two of Asia's largest stock exchange. We're present in about 60 markets. more than 160 years in business, among the top 100 largest companies listed on the London Stock Exchange. These are just some of the stats that you actually see that the bank, in terms of the bank at a glance. Our proposition, really, what we actually are looking at is to move away from traditional banking. As we all know, everyone is trying to be a bank nowadays. Fintech coming up. Everyone is trying to be kind of banking, and so how do we actually move away from traditional banking? How do we redefine the industry? How do we get the opportunity to transform kind of the communities? I think that's something that Standard Chartered is really good at. And I'll come to that and share my experience later on as well. Our unique footprint. So these are the 4 different regions that we have. Obviously, now we are split into East and West. But typically, for us, really, there's Europe and Americas, there's Africa and Middle East, and then there's also Greater China, North Asia, as well as ASEAN and South Asia. So where I sit in is actually in this ASEAN and South Asia, but obviously I do have my counterparts in the other parts of the world as well. So if you guys are actually interested in opportunities there, you could ask questions later on as well. I could share a bit more if I do have kind of the content for that. So the international graduate program. So in terms of the flagship program of the bank, it's actually the international graduate program that we actually run. So this program has been with the bank for about I think it's about 30 odd years already in the bank itself. And where we recruit in, we're continuously expanding our offerings actually. So where we recruit in, these are the different functions that we recruit in. So banking for companies, banking for individuals, and supporting the bank. So we kind of segregate that into the 3 different buckets. We recruit for basically, I think it's like 13 different streams in Singapore, and in some other parts of the world or some other countries is actually lesser in terms of our offerings. That's just because the franchise is smaller. But in the largest cities, say for example in Shanghai, in Singapore, in India, as well as in Hong Kong and the UK, we probably have some most of the functions, I would say. So depending on what's your interest, we'll ask that you apply directly to the role itself, to the stream itself. So it's an 18 months long program where we are looking at diverse candidates, where you basically you will be kind of coming into the bank, and you will undergo rotations. So rotation, not just within your particular function itself, we also allow you to see other parts of the bank as well. And we think it's important for you to do other business rotations as well. Say for example, if you were to come in for example, maybe let's just put financial markets, for example. If you were to come in financial markets track, you don't just do your rotation in, say for example, trading or structuring. You do your rotation in risk. Just obviously that's important for the bank. You can also choose to do a rotation in, say for example, Nadim's area in DCDA. So yeah, so those are the kind of exposure that we actually like to expose you to. Obviously, a lot of the graduate program nowadays, they are more of a regional program or localized program. What do I say that? So basically, it's really expensive to run a global graduate program, but StanChart has stand behind that, and we're still running a global international graduate program. So every year, September is when we see our graduates come into the bank. And it's really across the different markets. So we recruit in 25 different markets just for this IG program. In short, that's what we call it. And what usually happens is that every September, when we have the recruits in, and then they actually undergo a 1-month international training. In the past, pre-COVID, we actually brought everyone together in a single location. So in the past 3 years, it has always been in Shanghai, where we round up everyone from all the 25 markets, and we bring them together in one single location. What you undergo during the 1 month training is that obviously you get to sit for banking foundation, because obviously not everyone come from a banking background. We look for diversity as well. So you get the banking foundation, you get you get to work with your peers across the different countries, and then obviously you also get to kind of have the knowledge in terms of your stream itself, in your business stream that you have actually applied for. Um, so those are the things that we actually do during that 1 month of training. And on top of that, obviously you have great fun, right? Because it's a melting pot of all culture. We all come together. And if Esther managed to kind of load that up, I can show you the video. It's really, really nice. In terms of I've been there twice. It really opens up my eyes to kind of the presence that the bank and the footprint that the bank actually has, and the diversity. So that 1 month, it's really for you to kind of do your learning, and then obviously then you go back to your home country, and that's where your rotation continues. And then post that 18 months rotation, what would then happen is that it really depends on where your interest is. So your graduate talent managers in country will actually be speaking to you to say, well, what's your interest, having done all your rotation, where do you see yourself going, what are some of the roles that you want to do, and then that's where we find you a final home. Throughout all that, you are fully kind of permanently employed by the bank. It's not on a contract basis. Basically, we employ you permanently right from the start, and then you find your final home after the 18 months long program. So that's how the international graduate program is. Summer internship. So summer internship really, for us, you're not just the hands and legs for us. We get you in to do meaningful work. We want you to gain the international exposure and be part of the graduate pipeline. I can say, quite certainly that Standard Chartered, we do have quite a strong commitment to groom junior talent. When we look at intern conversion rates, across globally, we are at probably, I would say we're at about 70%. That's kind of quite, as compared to some of our industry competitors, we are quite high. That's why we always advocate for people to do a summer internship with us. So if you're in your penultimate year, or you're in your junior year, you probably want to think about, whether or not Standard Chartered could be an employer that you actually consider for summer internship. If you genuinely want to get good experience, if you want to kind of do meaningful work with us, I think Standard Chartered will probably be the place that you might want to kind of come on board and do your internship with us. So the internship program structure, obviously now with COVID, it may be a virtual internship depending on which country you are actually based in, or it could be a hybrid model where you can actually go into the office, and some parts of it will be virtual. And with Standard Chartered, we are actually rolling out flexible working arrangement in some of our countries as well. So, the plan is that hopefully every other country will have flexible working arrangement in the future. So that will come into play as well. There will be some form of virtual learning. So basically, internship program for us is a 10 weeks period where, in your week 1, you actually do a country induction. There will be trainings involved as well. So those will be kind of handled by our vendor to give you kind of a really a basic understanding of banking as well as your business stream itself. And then week 2 to 7 is where you do an internship project. Your internship project, it's much more than just project within, say for example, your business. It will be across, so we will group you together with your peers, regionally, and then we'll get you to work on a project together. That will kind of, you guys will have the diversity of skills, diversity of thoughts, that you will bring together. And this internship project are typically, I would say, sponsored by senior leaders, and then you have to present at the end of the internship itself. Of course, there will be e-learning, there will be, the CSR activities that you have to do. And across your entire internship, you actually have speaker series. So these speaker series are actually senior leaders, across globally to come in and speak to you, to share their experience with you. We also did. If you're a fan of Liverpool, we usually partner with them to do Liverpool LFC. They basically come in and have a chat with us as well. So just last week, I think we just had Michael Owen come in and speak to our IGs. So those are the things that we actually do as part of whether be it internship or graduate program. And then if you see, there will be evaluation as well. So internship presentation, evaluation, and then we of course want to review your performance and hopefully provide you a conversion offer. um, I always say this a lot, and I will say it again. The thing is, we definitely want to see it as a pipeline to our graduate program. One, it saves my graduate talent managers their time and effort to go externally to find someone. Secondly, why would we not convert you if you perform well, versus someone that is just going to interview with us for 10 minutes? So those are the things that we definitely want to look at in terms of conversion. It's a commitment that we've made as a team, to want to look at conversion offers. Okay. Yeah, so I've said quite a fair bit in terms of the international graduate program structure. So, like I said, the 4 weeks of international induction, followed by, the 12 weeks of training rotation, and then the business rotation. So the business rotation is where, you come in and say, well, I'm from financial markets. I want to do a completely different, business rotation compared to what I have in financial markets. Could be in, say, for example, SE Venture space, right? The fintech space, or could be in Nadim space, which is the DCDA space. So those are the areas that you could potentially think of. We give you that flexibility to look at it. It doesn't mean that, well, you come in as financial markets. You stick with what you do. I think we also want to give you that flexibility, because we understand that, well, having been exposed after that 12 months, you might be like, oh, actually, you know what, trading might not be my thing, and you want to do something different, or you spoke to someone and you think it's interesting and you want to do something different. So yeah, so we give you that flexibility. Why join Standard Chartered? I think, just in terms of business exposure, the impact that you will make. I guess it's also career development and well-being. It's also around diversity and giving back. Um, I can share why I kind of I've been with the bank for 3 years now, and I can really see, Standard Chartered, as cheesy as the tagline sounds, here for good, but I really think the bank is here for good. Throughout my 3 years, I've been to Nepal, to build houses for people who were affected by the earthquake. Mind you, it was paid by, obviously the accommodation was paid by kind of the bank itself, because as part of our proposition in early career space, we do have that, and we do bring the alumni of IG program together again. Depending on volunteering, it really depends on whether or not they take time out to volunteer. But we do pay for accommodation, and then everyone just have to pay for their flights. We went to Nepal to build houses for people who were affected by the earthquake. I've went to Ghana to kind of coach minor goals, life skills. So I really, really think that the bank is really kind of here for good in terms of giving back to the communities. Yes, the bank is for profits, but we also support the communities around us. I can share with you, not many people know this. So when the Nepal earthquake happened, back many years ago, we were the only bank that kind of opened up our doors for people to seek shelter in. When Ebola crisis broke out, in Africa itself, we loaned money to the Africa government to kind of fight the crisis. And obviously, if you know the Africa kind of climate, it's really difficult to do business there and to get back every single cent of your money. But we got back all our investments, and really we have a very strong relationship with the government in Africa. So those are the things that I guess that the bank do, that we don't usually speak a lot about, but it's really about the bank giving back and supporting the communities. So the Standard Chartered difference, I wouldn't go so much into this. I think it's really, how do we be client focused? How do we manage our risk? The unique proposition given our footprints, and having a sustainable approach to our business as well. I'll skip this. Okay, so our hiring process. Obviously, explore is really, now that you're exploring with us and connecting with us is really asking questions, and if you like, you can kind of reach out to myself or Nadeem just to ask any questions here we're not comfortable asking now. You can actually apply online. So what happens is applications are actually open online every September. So some of the applications in some of the locations in Asia are still open in terms of some of the roles that we have. If you don't see the business lines that are being advertised, those are it's just because we have filled it with intern conversion, or we have filled it externally. We have done with our hiring. So when Nadeem seats, we are still hiring in DCDA space because, the team has kind of looked at the value of IG program, and they have decided that they would like to kind of be part of this. This is in fact the first year that DCDA is actually coming into the IG program, so we're quite excited about that. Yeah, so I mean, apply online. You have to complete all the online assessments, and then we will do the face-to-face interviews as well as the assessment centers, and then offer management process and screening and onboarding will then follow. So this is kind of the hiring process steps. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them later on. Once kind of we're done with Nadeem's kind of introduction. Yeah, so I'm done. I will pass on to Nadeem. So I've invited Nadeem because, DCDA is new and it's an exciting area, and I wanted Nadeem to kind of share his role and what his team, what DCDA really does. Nadeem, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very, very much. So look, maybe a bit of background about myself, just so I'm aware of time. How long roughly do I have before we want to open up to Q&A?
Yeah, what's the sort of time now? If you could, well, how long was your presentation? You got to sort of.
I can talk for as long as you want me to.
Okay.
I can talk for 20 minutes. I can talk.
Yeah, I mean, why don't you talk sort of 5-10 minutes? Got quite a lot of questions coming through just around, programs for MBA students. How do I apply? So you've clearly got an interested audience. So yeah, why don't you have sort of 5-10 minutes, and then we can just capture any questions then too.
Yeah, great. So let me start actually just by giving you my own experience, my own background. I think it's quite interesting to see what attracted me to Standard Chartered in the first place. So I've been fortunate to be working in this industry, but as well as the fintech community itself for about 15, 20 years now. I started my career here in London at a different bank, albeit a couple years ago. With that, moved around the world a bit. And then decided to leave banking because I really felt the pace of change of banking wasn't there. Right, I moved into the fintech community, blockchain, crypto space. I'd worked for a company called Ripple for a few years. Before that, with another fintech, and what really attracted me to back to banking and Standard Chartered was the mindset and the attitude that this bank portrays and is really ambitious on trying to drive. So I joined Standard Chartered about 7-8 months ago now, so I'm fairly new to the bank. And if I think of what other banks do and where Standard Chartered is best placed, it's really around the network that we have, right? We are in the areas that are growing. We are in the areas and have been for decades, right? I think longest standing is over 150 years in some markets that we've been in where it matters, right? Growth is happening in Asia, growth is happening in Africa, growth is happening in the Middle East. And when I thought about which bank truly differentiated itself from growth capacity, but also from when change happens and where change is needed, it's in the right markets to be in. I look at the developed markets like the Europe and the US, and I think about the banks there. And look, they've been stagnant from a growth perspective. They've been hit harder than others, and intra-region when it comes to Asia, Middle East, and Africa is quite exciting, right? So to me, that was one of the big things that really drove me towards why Standard Chartered in the first place. And I think my colleague had obviously alluded to a lot of the great things that you can do in market and in region. The second thing was around the pace of change that this bank was doing, which kind of brings me on to why I chose to work within the DCDA team itself. You know, the digital era is upon us. Let's also be honest, right? That change is there. That change is happening. COVID has definitely accelerated that. The fact that we're even sitting here on a webinar having this when it most likely would have been in person at a university, it goes to just show you that we've all had to adapt quite quickly. And what really excited me the most about this bank was how fast and how ambitious they want to move. We truly have that goal to be the leading digital platform for our clients. And the fact that we're in the markets where some digital innovation has happened already and continues to grow and continues to be adopted just genuinely drives my ambition to it. So now, you kind of segueing into my particular role, and as I said at the very beginning of this, demystifying banking. I'm sure I'm speaking to a whole bunch of different groups of students here. Whether it's early stage or MBAs, as you had referenced. Demystifying banking is the start of it, right? Like, you look at a bank, and I remember when I first started my grad program back in the day, I came from an engineering background. Like, I had no clue what a bank did. I was just like, sure, you guys like math, you like numbers, cool, let's do this. Like, it was really, that's how I approached it. So, understanding that, look, a bank's main ambition is obviously the products that they drive, right? So it's around foreign exchange, cash, trade. We help multinationals and local companies. And for some banks like ourselves that have a retail branch, also individuals like you and me, to bank and provide banking services around the world, right? And we facilitate that. Now, what's really exciting is that the digital era has kicked off such a need to digitize this entire process. So to really get practical into it, imagine a company once upon a time would have to provide invoices, maybe physical invoices, physical paper to provide shipping details. Maybe they needed to go into bank branches to actually authorize certain payments. All that has had to move to a digital era, right? And so, this bank said, for us to be the best, we not only have to hire and attract the best, but we have to continue to invest in our platform at a tremendous effort. And so, we're embarking on a very exciting, 2 to 3 year project where by the end of it, we really want to be that best bank when it comes to the digital platforms. Now, what my team specifically do there is we've also come to realize that, the time of do it all yourself just doesn't exist. Like, we also needed to appreciate that there are fintechs that have niche expertise. There are, partners and platforms out there that offer different experiences with what they can provide. And so having that mindset of, it's good to partner. It's good to bring in those partnerships that can truly drive an accelerated platform strategy to our clients is really what we want. So it's really about driving the right client experience, right? It's about, how do I give my client the superior ultimate experience in a seamless fashion through multiple different partners, but also my own core services as a bank that I want to provide, right? And so that's kind of where this team was born out of. And I've been fortunate to have been brought on to lead that team. We have an international group that really look at all types of kind of partnerships, right? Whether it's, as I mentioned, the big names that you would have most likely seen more publicly, like with Microsoft driving a cloud strategy and, migrating to the cloud, or to other stuff that we're obviously working on. And the digital solutions team just is a natural enablement on that, because it's about, how do we commercialize those opportunities? We also need to listen to our clients to make sure that we understand what it is they demand, what it is that they need to interact with us, whether it's facilitated processes to upload documents, whether it's services that we might not necessarily have today and capabilities that they're asking for us to do. And so working with clients as partners is also another big anchor that my team is working on. Within DCDA, more holistically, we support the bank in its digital goals, right? We are here to help drive that across all the different business lines and really drive towards a harmonized strategy. You as a client should be able to come to our bank and be able to get the same service and the same level of service, whether you're sitting in Ghana, Kenya, Singapore, Hong Kong, New York, shouldn't matter, right? You need to have that same level that you expect from your bank. And so that's really what DCDA was created for. So let me pause there. Happy to keep going and rambling on, but I'm sure, if you said there's many questions coming in, I'd be very happy to start answering them.
Yeah, let's just have a look. Thank you, Nadeem, and we can always carry on. So questions around let's just read them through where we start for. So yeah, first question was around how do I apply for the internship program? Perhaps you can post the link in the chat. That would be really good. Yeah, so how do you apply for the internship? And then linked to that, is there any separate internship program for MBA students or graduate program for MBA students?
Right. So I think Esther, I can take that. So the link to the internship program, you can actually go into Standard Chartered website under the careers page where you look at the graduates, and then you can actually link to that and you can actually apply from there. But obviously, I can send the link over to Esther later on,
Yeah,
and we can share that. Yeah, we can share that with everyone. To the MBA question, the second part of the question, unfortunately, as of right now, we don't actually have a separate program for MBAs. We have always said that, obviously we do understand that you have taken your MBA, but, if you're still keen in joining Standard Chartered, then the graduate program, or if not, joining Standard Chartered on a lateral role, it's probably, kind of the way to go.
No, brilliant, thank you. I've also got a question around whether or not Standard Chartered would sponsor international candidates for internships or graduate schemes in your Singapore office.
Okay, so transparently, I can tell you that it's not just for Singapore. I think every the government globally it's actually clamping down on visas and stuff like that. We do prioritize, not every company is going to tell you this, we do prioritize the local citizens first. Just obviously there's been a very strong advocate from the government, but if you're very very keen in the Singapore office, obviously share with us your resume. We can see what we can do. But if not, we do have footprints around the world as well, so there should probably be somewhere that you will be keen in.
Thank you. And yeah, I'm just scrolling through the questions here. There's been quite a lot around nationalities and rights to work and permits and things. So thank you. I think it's the same around the world.
But Esther, can I just add on a point?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I think Nadim can attest to this as well. So what we are really good at Standard Chartered is internal mobility as well. So I think probably not in your early stage of your careers, maybe in in the next 3 years, maybe there might be opportunities that come up and you can move across, right? It's not immediate, but it's something that we definitely look into.
Yeah.
No, thank you. That's really good point. Sorry, Nadeem, you speak.
No, I could not agree more. I have been hired in London and most likely moving to Singapore next year. So just to give you an idea, like that internal mobility is very much on the agenda.
Okay.
Most likely, yeah.
Nice.
Oh, that's nice. That internal mobility, really key piece. Yeah, very important there. A question here as well around what programming languages and frameworks are used most commonly in the bank.
Will you be able to take that?
I can definitely give a stab at it. We do use a range. I mean, off the top of my head, from what I recall, the team's working on, goes anywhere between Python to SQL to to C. If you think about where those programming languages are truly used, I guess maybe that's also another way to just frame this question. It's two different teams, right? One is our actual just technologists, right? The individuals that are helping to program, build, and execute and deliver the platforms. But we also have an entirely different team that works within the DCDA construct for data, right? So there's a lot of data engineers and data scientists that are actually using programming languages, some of the ones I mentioned, but I'm sure many others that I won't even try to try to remember or name, that are exploring, ways to write, machine learning, AI work, also working with quantum computing. So, fairly extensive. That said, it's worth noting that the need to have a specific programming language knowledge isn't a requirement. You know, I think really what we're looking for isn't so much do you have and are you able to program in said language, more so do you have the capacity and the ability to learn and pick up those languages, and obviously proven ability to do that. And I think that's what we value a lot more here at Standard Chartered, right? Not coming in with the existing knowledge.
No, thank you. Another really interesting question on that tech theme for you, Nadine. What's your favourite thing about working in tech for Standard Chartered? And do you ever feel like you're missing working in a smaller organisation and outside of banking? That's a lovely question.
Look, interesting.
Really nice.
Yeah, thank you very much for asking that. Look, I think it's been very interesting having gone from a big organization that was 100,000 plus to an organization that was 100 people to having started my own business that was 10 people and then now back into a bank which is 100,000 people. So I've definitely seen the entire breadth of companies and how it works. Normally, if I'm super honest, I would have answered that question. Had you asked me that question before, I would have said, yeah, you don't get that feel of a small company. Wear many hats, do many things. And not to be cliche, but I truly feel that where Standard Chartered can be and how we operate can be the world's biggest fintech, right? It's quite exciting to think that and really play with that concept because we do operate like that, right? We are working on new improved ways to collaborate with each other. This bank operates in a very different mentality than your traditional, let's say, European or US bank, which I also find quite exciting. And look, when it comes to the tech, yes, working for a small company does mean that you're maybe involved in many different things, but it also means you don't have the resources nor the capacity to actually go full throttle when you want to, right? And I think being in a big bank like Standard Chartered gives us that ability to truly go for it, right? Which I'm so excited about. And we are embracing that attitude of it's okay to move fast and fail fast, but let's just try to get it done. Let's just try to deliver to our clients. And so I do miss knowing everyone. I have to admit that. Like, it's nice to know your entire company. I don't think I'll ever get to know all 85,000 people that work at this bank, but I don't miss, and I don't feel I'm lacking anything being in a big company like Standard Chartered.
No, thank you. That's a really lovely answer to a very interesting question. Now, there's one final question, which is around what qualities and abilities does Standard Chartered look for in graduates? Just before we come to that final one, Jaslyn and Nadine, if you're able to share, I've had lots of questions around application links and when things open. If you're perhaps able to share with me kind of some details or paragraphs afterwards, we can share with all the students who've registered and have attended today. I think there's huge amounts of interest. So if you could just sort of pop it all to me in one message, and I can share that out with students and they've got it all in one place. But a really nice question to end on then. So what qualities and abilities do Standard Charters look for in graduates? Now, perhaps you could both answer that and we'll see if they match up. So, Jazzy, would you like to answer?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to start that. Look, I think we look for a handful of things. First, you got to remember what is the value that this bank tries to drive, right? We are looking for individuals that are courageous, that are ambitious, and that are hungry to learn, right? But more importantly, that are also collaborative, right? I mean, these are the kind of big key things that we really drive. And by courage, I mean, hey, did I lose everyone?
Still hear you, Nadine, but I think your video's dropped out.
Yeah, I think your video.
Sorry, let me try that again. Maybe over to you. Let me just fix my webcam and I can try to get back online.
You're back.
Yeah, so I'm not too sure where I dropped out. Hopefully, yeah. So look, courageous, being able to really put your hand up and ask for help when needed. You're not the individual that is just a one-man team, one-woman team. That's just not our interest, right? I think we really want people that work and thrive on a collaborative environment, because we're never going to get there if we don't do things together, right? That culture is so important to us. We do so much around driving our internal culture that we value those amongst all things. I always say education can be taught, right? You can learn how to program. You can learn how to do a foreign exchange trade. I'm an engineer and I learned banking, so it's fine, right? Like, I never think that you need to come in like a banking expert. That's what you learn on the job, right? So I think having that culture and having those values instilled in what we as a bank our values is really what I look for when I meet and interview candidates of all different stages, whether that's graduates or professional hires as well. But yeah, over to you, Jaslyn. Sorry.
Yeah, I think I echo what Nadeem said. I think courageous. I think we really want people who kind of challenge the status quo, people who are able to bring in new ideas. Really, we don't really look at what you've studied. I think it is not applicable. We are degree agnostic. So if you go and apply into us, you will know that our first test, in fact, it's more like a strengths-based test. It's a cultural fit test to see whether you fit into our culture or not. That's the most important for us. It's not about your grades. I do know of a lot of the investment banks. If you don't score like a second upper or of a certain grade, you basically get filtered off. But that's not kind of what we are looking out for. I think it's really around whether you fit into our culture or not. We're looking for people who are collaborative, like what Nadeem is saying. We're looking for people who, able to challenge the status quo, someone who, are able to look at client focus. How do you make things simpler for us, faster for the client, be client focused. So those are the things that we are actually looking out for. It's not essentially about your major. So even if you've studied, say, for example, history, music, life sciences, we don't really care, right? It's around, the diversity of thoughts and the skill sets that you bring. From your education background. It's not so much about, everything else. So yeah, so I think that's kind of what I would like to add. Over to you, Esther.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Notes, I'm muting. Well, thank you very much to both Jaslyn and Nadeem. I know you've been a very popular session, lots and lots of questions, lots around how do I apply for both the internship and the graduate scheme. So yeah, really keen to share out those information further, and then I can perhaps ask any other students. Do you have contact details you'd like to share? If students have got any questions, perhaps you can pop them in the email to me, or if there is a generic Standard Chartered sort of contact us page, that would be great, because I know there's quite a few questions that have come through. So just thank you to you both. Yeah, really brilliant session. Obviously, yeah, has really captured the imagination with the questions that have come through, and yeah, the attendance. So thank you, really appreciated.
Yeah, thank you to everyone for taking the time to listen in and your interest in the bank. So.
Yeah, it's a shame you can't see the faces. We give you a big sort of, 100 odd people give you a big clap. So yeah, thank you. Appreciate virtual workings has its own little.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you again. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.